Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am so happy that you can be with me today, and it's going to be a very exciting live tonight. And, we're going to talk about destination wedding. So, if you're in this group, that means you're looking to have a destination wedding. And after you go through the actual planning of having your wedding, meaning figuring out where you are going to have your wedding, what resort you're going to have it, and what destination you're going to have it. Now comes the fun part of actually planning the actual wedding. So now that this is for people within the group, I would say that already have their wedding date set and are looking to now plan the actual wedding part of their ceremony. So I'm going to give you my formula for having an unforgettable wedding. And hopefully, this can guide you through all the steps you need to do or things you can think of while you're planning your wedding. So, let me share my screen with you and we can begin. So, these are, as I said, my destination wedding tips, and they are called my A6 formula because all these tips start with the letter A. And it's going to be, these tips are going to help you, as I said, have an unforgettable experience for you and your guests. So the first thing I would say in planning your destination wedding is you have to make sure you know what your theme and what your color is. Like, what kind of theme are you looking for your wedding? And if you're going to have a color theme, what is that? Because you need to know what type of wedding you want. Do you want traditional? Do you want modern? It's just so much rustic. You need to decide that. And also based on where you're going to have your wedding, if it's going to be a beach wedding, you need to understand that, because then that will allow you to plan accordingly. So the first tip I have is anticipation. So now that you've decided that you set your wedding date, how do you tell your guests that you're going to have your wedding? So the first thing you would do is do a save the date. And the reason why I said you need to know your theme and color, because the save your date, and also when you do send out a wedding invitation, should match what your theme is. If your color is red or blue, you should pick colors within your invitation that matches that color. And also, what type of wedding are you having? Is it going to be a formal wedding or very casual, laid back? People can wear whatever they want to wear. So this is going to set the tone of your wedding. So having the save the date and also your wedding invitation match the theme that you're looking for your wedding, sets that tone. And then your guests have an idea of, what to pack. Is it going to be an all white affair? Is it going to be casual on the beach? We can just come as we are. Or do we have to get dressed up because it's going to be a black and white affair? So you need to let your guests know what type of wedding you're going to have. And that's also the anticipation, because not knowing, and you get this invitation and they're all, oh my God, you're going to have a wedding. So you try to make sure all these things match. And there's two ways you can do the same. Most people do the save the date electronically. And for the actual wedding invitation, I think nowadays people are doing a lot of e-invite wedding invitation and not actually sending a physical invitation out, which is great. And I guess due to COVID, it's the best way to go. And also it is less expensive to send it something electronic than have it printed. But some people are old fashioned like myself. I actually did a printed copy of mine, and this is what I sent out to my guests. It looked like a little postcard. It was a trifold, so they had different things on there. And this is what I sent to my guests, because I was getting married. I wanted a physical thing for my guests to have in their hand. So that's what I did. I actually did a physical invitation. So with my invitation, they knew it was going to be a beach wedding based on the theme I had in there. We wore red and white for the most part, because my theme was red and white for my wedding. So that's just the first thing, the anticipation. By them getting the invitation, they know what type of wedding you're having, or just what type of occasion you're having based on how your invitation is. So the next thing I would say as part of your wedding planning process is arrival. And when I mean arrival, this is when your guests actually get on a resort. Like when they get to the lobby at the resort, what are you planning for them, or what can they expect when they get there? The fact that these guests are paying a lot of money to come celebrate with you, I would say as a couple, you should definitely think about what you want to do for your guests when they arrive so they can feel welcome, and like, like a way of just thanking them for taking the time to come spend the time with you to celebrate your wedding. So what I would say is most resort, which you're going to use, and I'm always these are very good tips you can use that saves you money. Most resort will have a welcome cocktail when they arrive on property. So the guests are going to come, they're going to be in the lobby, they get a welcome cocktail. They could even get a cold towel, depending on the weather. Most time that's what's given out to each guest when they come. But for you as a couple, if you should know when all your guests are coming to the resort, because if I am planning your wedding for you, you will, as a couple, you'll get a list of these are all when your guests are coming and when they're expected to be on property. So what you can do as a couple is actually be in the lobby, wait for your guests to come and greet them when they get there, telling them, thank you for coming. I'm so happy you're here, because that's a personal touch that you add into your wedding, making them feel very comfortable and inviting them into coming here to celebrate with you. I mean, other things you can do is also you could have a welcome bag. So when they arrive, you can just hand them their welcome bag and they could, feel welcome and, thank them for coming. You can also have the welcome bag delivered to their room. That normally comes at an additional cost because most resort will charge you extra for bringing stuff to the room. So that is something that you can do is as part of just welcoming your guests. The other thing you can do is most couple would plan like a welcome cocktail. So when most of the guests have arrived on property, that could be part of the invitation that we have a welcome cocktail on this day at that time. So that's definitely a good way of telling them thank you for coming and just making the arrival process, that much nicer and just feeling welcome. So that's just something you can do by having a welcome bag either delivered to their rooms or giving it to them personally when they get there. It just brings a little bit, personal touch, I would say, to your wedding. The next thing to focus on is the atmosphere. And the atmosphere has to do with the whole atmosphere from when they get there to me to the actual day of the wedding. So it's like, what kind of atmosphere do you want to set so your guests can feel good? And most times it's your senses that you are you're thinking about, your sight, the smell, the sound, the taste, the touch. What are you going to do to enhance these particular senses? So for sight, it's your theme. What are you going to have for your wedding? You're going to have lights, you're going to have decorated table, you're going to have a canopy. These are things the guests will see when they get there. The colors. What are your colors for your wedding? How are you going to decorate the venue for them? The decorations you're going to use, the lighting you're going to use. So these are going to be very good things to enhance your guest experience. The smell with the food aroma, the flowers, and if you're by the ocean, just the ocean smell. And if you're in a garden, the flowers, those type of things. Taste. Taste would be appetizer, cocktail, the drinks, the dinner, the wedding cake. All these things are things that's going to enhance your wedding. Touch. It's the fabric that you use, the flowers that you selected for your reception, the favors you're going to give to your guests, the food, the decoration. These are things that are in the touch area. So your guests can see and feel and touch and just be part of the environment. The other thing is music. It's entertainment and it's a conversation, meaning that there's going to be all these people, 30 to 40 people together attending your wedding. It's that feeling of belonging that you want to have. So you're trying to make sure you're enhancing the atmosphere so your guests feel welcome, and also you set up something that do something different that they've never seen before, or just you have to think outside the box, like what can I do to make this uniquely mine? And part of the atmosphere, I would say, like for say your reception, you could have, instead of table numbers, you could have picture frames with a picture of the couple in different scenario, either when they just met, when they first got engaged, just to do something different and had a personal touch to your wedding. So there's different things you can do to try to bring in that personal touch, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So appetite, you're at an all-inclusive resort. You want to make sure the food selection, when you're selecting the food, that it touches, all the taste buds, salty, sweet, sour, bitter. You want to make sure that, they're getting a taste of everything. And for me, one thing I always say, culturally, if you're someplace that you've never been before, like a lot of people are getting married in Jamaica or they're getting married in Mexico, you want to make sure you sample the authentic food from the island. You don't want to go someplace and never eat the food. It's just like, that's the experience here of just tasting something that you've never tasted before or having something that you've never had before. So, making a specialty drink, that's something that you can have the resort do. Just make a drink just for your wedding, for your guests, something that is just uniquely you. You can call it whatever you want to do. But, I would say appetite, or food, just think about your menu and your selection, making sure that you're covering all the bases. So, everyone can taste a little bit of something or something different. So you always want to add something different to it to make sure everyone has a sense of being in a foreign country or being someplace else. So just, think about the menu. Most time the menu is set, but you can always add stuff to it. And, most time I tell people, if you're in an all-inclusive resort, you don't really need to go spend extra money to get extra things, but you still want to make it uniquely yours by adding certain touches that are you. And, is your favorite food that you like that you want to share with your guests? So maybe have that on the menu. So these are things you can think about of ways to enhance it, so it's just a little bit, more you. When people come like, oh, this is Sandra, I know she like jerk chicken, so that's something that I would have on the menu because that's something that I like, and I like to share that with my guests. The next thing I want to talk about is amusement. Amusement means entertainment, meaning that when you plan your event, entertainment is a big thing. Are you going to have a DJ or are you going to have a band? And I always say the cultural aspect of it. If you're in Mexico, you're going to have a mariachi band because that's something different that most people don't see. If you're in Jamaica, you're going to have their mento band, their local band, or a reggae band. Just something that is not a DJ and something that's going to add a different touch to your event. And I always tell people, amusement is really, how are you going to get 30 plus people together to have a good time? Like, what activities can you plan to amuse them, to entertain them while they're on property? And as a planner, I always tell my couples that, I try to find out what's going on at the resort, because most resort always have activities every day. Whether, I know I'm going to give Sandals as an example. Sandals always have an all-white chocolate buffet like on Thursday or Friday. And Saturday, sometimes it's a beach party. And on Sundays, it might be a reggae band performing. There is always something going on at the resort. And I always tell my couples, use that as part of your entertainment for your guests. Include that in your when you send them information on the wedding. Just say Friday is all white. We're gonna dress up. We're gonna meet. We're gonna wear all white. So it's almost as if it's part of your wedding, but it's really something that the resort is doing. It's not costing you anything for a beach party. Tell everybody, make sure you have your beach clothes ready for Thursday night or Friday night. It's all white. We're gonna be hanging out. So try to use what's going on at the resort, because that saves you money, and also it's group event that you can do, because you can be together experiencing what's going on at the resort. And you also think, things I always tell my couple also, you have 40 people coming to your wedding. What are you going to do to, as I said, as activities? So you can also think of group activities that you can do, whether it's beach volleyball games or you can do a group tour. So, think of all the things that you can do with your group to make sure that they're having a good time, because they came all the way here to enjoy your wedding. So, think of unique things that you can do with them to show, to amuse them also, and also to just entertain them. The other part I would say, and most important, is appreciation. All these guests came all the way to experience your destination wedding. Think of ways that you can say thank you for coming, whether through, giving them giving them a card at the end, a thank you card at the end, a small gift at the end, a farewell barbecue or cocktail, or a group event like a catamaran cruise or a tour. So think of things that you can do as a group, to tell the people or your guests that came to your wedding way of telling them thank you for coming. We really appreciate you coming. So, think of, things you can do. For me also, you can just say, want to meet up by the jerk shack. We're going to meet up by the pool and the bar is open. So you just can meet up there and have fun without even costing you anything. Just think of things that you can organize on resort that you can do as a group that just shows that you appreciate them for coming and a way of just thanking them for coming. The next thing I would say is DIY. And this is the best way I know you can save some money and make your wedding unforgettable and uniquely yours. And that is making things and bringing them with you, or bringing certain touches that are all you. Like this umbrella, I made this, I bought it and I painted on because it was my 25th wedding anniversary, and I was doing red and white was my theme color, and I wanted to have something there that was mine that nobody else have. I also bought bubbles in the red and white color, bought a red basket. I also had flip-flops because we're on the beach, and I know people always forget to bring flip-flops. So I've said, I brought them dancing shoes. So I bought, baskets of different size flip-flops that I bought. So there's a lot of things that you can do and bring. This is the stuff I have here. This is I'd call this table runners. I mean, I can get these on Amazon for $10. I don't know what it costs. It costs me $30 to put a table runner on a table. If you're, looking to be budget conscious and you're doing the basic decor on the table, you can add little touches to it to make it your own. You can have the sequence table runner in the color of your theme for your wedding, and just add these things or bring little things that you can add that doesn't cost too much, so you can enhance your wedding and make it like unforgettable. I mean, what I did a catamaran cruise for all my guests the day after my wedding, and everybody just loved it. We were able to party again all day on a boat. But the other things that I found that everybody keeps, remember from the wedding, keeps talking about it, is that we just meet up by the jerk shop by the beach and we just hang out for hours, and it didn't cost anything, and everybody was together and everybody did their own thing. But it was a way of everyone getting together and for me to show appreciation for thanking them for coming. But also it was it also didn't cost anything to do certain amount of these things. So for me, making sure that you think about the anticipation of when you send the invitation out, what your guests can anticipate when they come, when they arrive at the resort, what can you do to enhance that process to make them feel welcome and be part of your wedding group. Because most times not everyone's going to know each other at your wedding. It's a good way for you to introduce them to the rest of the people that are going to be there. So when they see them on a resort, they know they're part of the wedding group. So, having a welcome cocktail when everybody arrives is a great thing to, break the ice and for everybody to get to know each other. So that's definitely something to think about. And the atmosphere, you're doing a wedding. If you're doing a wedding on a beach, I always suggest people to get lighting around the perimeter, because it makes such a difference when night comes down and that light is on. It's a whole lot different having the lights there than not having lights there. So there's certain things you want to add, because it just makes the wedding just feels that much better. And the other thing was appetite, and just making sure that you have good food at your wedding and you're covering all the bases, so all the senses can go off in people's mouth, because people tend to remember certain things. And having a band or a DJ, they're fine, but having something different that no one has before, like, a reggae band or something, just something different, because then it can play whatever you want them to play. Your guests can have a good time. Because for me, I had a violinist when I walked down the aisle, and then I had like a calypso band for my cocktail hour. So, and then I had a DJ. So it was just a transition of different things. So every time they went someplace, there was something new they were hearing or seeing or feeling. So you just want them to, just be engulfed in your wedding and just feel good. So I hope this information helped you somewhat in planning your wedding and what you need to think about while you're planning your wedding, because this is, these are things that you really need to focus on when you're doing your wedding. Because, although you're doing it in a destination and it's not local, these are things you really need to consider. Like, what can I use that's going on at the resort that can help me to enhance my wedding? And also just, what can I bring that's personal to me to make sure that when people see this, they know, oh, this is Sandra's wedding, or this, because I see this and I see that. So you have to think about all those things. And for all the brides that are in my group that are still thinking about a destination wedding, if you're still thinking about one and you want one, now is a good time to start planning, because prices are very good at most of the resort because of COVID. A lot of them are closed. Now they're open. So they're having a lot of Black Friday sales. So if you're really on the fence and you really want a destination wedding, now is a great time to start looking at resorts, to start looking at wedding packages, to see which resort will best suit your needs. And as I said before, if anyone's looking for any help in planning their wedding, please leave me a comment. Leave me, just say I do in the comment, and I know that that's what you need. You need help with a destination wedding, so you want to get married in the Caribbean. So again, thank you very much for taking the time out to listen to me, and hopefully my tips were of some value to you. I mean, I had something I written down. It's like 8 A's, but I only did 6. Like the other 2 A's are attire and accessories. I mean, I think that I didn't have to talk too much about that, because the attire is what your wedding dress, like what are you gonna, wear, and the accessories is what goes with that. So I think that is, I don't need to talk about that, because every bride's gonna wear, it's gonna get their attire and accessories down pat. But it's the other A's, is what you can do to make sure that your wedding is unforgettable and your guests are gonna have a great time when they come to your wedding. So thank you again for attending my live. And also, if you have any questions, please leave me a comment and I will certainly get back to you. Bye.